Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steehn with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with number 4 of our video series in our team win totals. We have taken a look at the rest of the NFC today. We're finishing up the NFC, taking a look at the NFC West, home of the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers. And I am joined by my crew. Am I too old to say that? Can I say my crew? My boys with a Z. Of course, my one and only partner in crime. He mans the ship over there at statsalt.com. Make sure when we're up and running here, you check out his videos. It is Mr. Scott Reichel, all the way from Long Island, New York. Scotty, how are you today?
Doing pretty well. If it makes you feel any better, I bring the average age of the crew down, so you're able to say that now, if that makes you feel any better.
Excellent.
Yeah, now your plan's all coming together. Yeah.
I love it when a plan comes together. Mm-hmm. And once again, we are joined by the man up there from the backwoods of Maine, up there in Brown Bear, or is it Black Bear territory?
Black Bear.
The Maine Black Bears. He's fresh off 2 days of WrestleMania. He is David Hess. Good day, David. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, doing great. Temperatures are in the 50s today, so, not my ideal temperature, but it's still pretty nice, I guess. I like it colder. I like it colder.
And we are all, of course, sheltering in place, keeping our social distance, et cetera, et cetera. And we always want to wish everybody out there the best of health. Let's all we're in this together. Of course, we're going to acknowledge what's going on, but we are going to continue on as if the NFL season will be going on. Gentlemen, before we get started, anybody have any thoughts on whether the NFL season will go on time and a full season?
Well, I know that President Trump had some type of very incognito phone conference with pretty much all of the main sports.
Right.
And Trump said specifically that he wants the NFL to go on normal schedule. Now, of course, want and, whether or not that's actually going to – that's kind of the key word there. I think everybody wants that to happen. So I don't really know if that really says much. But assuming that everything starts to look a little bit brighter, it makes it seem like President Trump and perhaps some of the other people behind the scenes will do whatever it takes to get the season started on time. So I guess that's an optimistic sign.
I was looking at the government site yesterday where they it's kind of the best information you can have as far as the projected totals and the curves and everything. And it looks like everything, all the models show it pretty well flattened out by the 1st of July. So now whether the question is going to be, once the pandemic has receded, whether people are still going to want to pack stadiums, et cetera, that remains to be seen. Dave, what's your opinion? You think we're going to kick off on time?
I'm trying to be optimistic as well. I've been watching it. Been watching the news a lot. In New York is starting to slow down a little bit with their stuff, and they're one of the biggest hot spots. But
right. That's fantastic. In fact, I know there was a time when about a third of the victims lived within New York City, within the 5 boroughs. So anytime we see any kind of receding happening up there in New York, everybody's very happy about that. I don't think anybody wants to see Seattle and San Francisco playing in a boneyard match.
No.
Just saying. All right, guys, well, let's take a look at this NFC West. By the way, the NFC West, according to the win totals, is the best division in football. If you add up the 4 teams and their projected over-under win totals, it comes up to 36. No other team is higher than 32. So first of all, before we start with the teams, Scott, do you agree with that assessment? NFC West, best conference in football?
I think it's the best division, in my opinion.
What is it, conference? Yes, division. Thank you.
For me, the 49ers, of course, should continue to be one of the better teams in the NFC after just completely destroying almost every team in their path throughout the entire season. Like most of the talent, we'll get into that in a minute. But I think San Francisco will be really good. Seattle with Russell Wilson is always going to be dangerous. It seems like him and Carroll always win double-digit games pretty much year in, year out. Los Angeles had a down year. They're still kind of unpredictable, but they definitely have the talent to win double-digit games. And Arizona definitely made some improvements during the offseason, so they should look better. Overall, from top to bottom, I think they're probably the best division. I think that is a pretty accurate statement.
Dave, you on board? You on board with the NFC West being the best division, top to bottom?
Yeah, I am. I think that every team in that division will win at least 7 games this year. So.
Ooh, spoiler alert, Dave.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, let's start off with those San Francisco 49ers. They went 13-3 last year. Their projected win total this year, 10.5 is the number. You're going to have to pay just a little bit of juice on the over at -115. Kind of an interesting offseason for the Niners so far. They did resign Jesse Armstead, but they traded DeForest Buckner for the first-round pick in the draft this year to Indianapolis. That is going to be the 13th pick. Last year of his rookie deal, and it would have been due a huge contract. In fact, he signed a big extension with the Colts. Let's start with that one, Dave. Do you think that was a good move to save a little cap space there with DeForest Buckner, or is he going to turn into a top 5 rusher?
I think it was a good move. I mean, the 49ers were in the Super Bowl last year, and they now have 2 first-round picks. So, their first pick was supposed to be the 31st, and now they also have the 13th.
Right.
So
That's
I think they have a good chance. I mean, the core of their team is still around. So to add 2 first-round picks to a team that went to the Super Bowl last year, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that defense, they did resign safety Jimmy Ward, and I know Robert Saleh really likes Jimmy Ward. He plays a very versatile role, almost kind of a joker, kind of a spy guy there. Plays the free safety position, but you can bump him up to linebacker. And they lost Emmanuel Sanders. Scott, is that going to make a huge difference in the receiving core that didn't exactly inspire a lot of confidence to start with?
Well, I think it was going to until they traded to get the 13th pick, and now they can either take CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, or even Ruggs out of Alabama. So they have a lot of options for replacement there. Same kind of logic, though. Sanders they traded for in the middle of last season. They knew for the most part he was going to be a one-year rental because especially in today's NFL, wide receivers might be very good, but at the same point, there are so many of them that you can kind of replace them. They're kind of expendable. And I think that the 49ers realize, same thing with Buckner. You got a couple of big contracts coming up. For example, Bosa's still on his rookie deal. You're going to need to pay him in a couple of years. And I think we can all agree you'd rather probably pay Bosa all that money than Buckner. So they're trying to keep their cap flexibility intact. And I think that wide receivers, even though Sanders probably would have had a bigger game if Garoppolo didn't overthrow him in the middle of the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. But either or, I definitely think that they will target a receiver with the 13th pick. And I think that that should help replace Sanders and keep his absence, a minimal impact, I'd say.
There are some seriously good receivers out there in the draft this year. It's probably going to be the year of the receiver would be my guess. A lot of talent on that Alabama squad. Clemson, LSU, all have fantastic receivers. So the NFC West matches up this year with the East. They match up with the AFC East and the NFC East. The Niners have the Eagles, Skins at home, the Bills and Dolphins at home as well. Their first place matchup home, they're going to match up with the Packers. And their road games, they go, of course, against the Cowboys, Giants, the Pats, and the Jets. And the other number 1 team they play is the Saints. Guys, I'm looking at 4-1 at home, 3-2 on the road. That means they've got to go 4-2 in the division to get to 11. I think they do it. I think this is a team that's a little bit undervalued. I'm not sure they win 13 games again, but I think 11 or 12 with that schedule is right in the wheelhouse. Scott, what do you think?
I also like the over. Just looking at the number of 10.5, I just think the 49ers are talented enough to easily win 11 games. You mentioned the schedule, the NFC East. We talked about them the other day. Besides the Eagles and the Cowboys, who are kind of a wild card, the Redskins are a joke, the Giants are a joke, and the AFC East, we'll get to them at some point in the future. I think we can agree that there are a couple of free wins over there for the 49ers. For me, I just think that this team is too talented from top to bottom. Even though Shanahan is partially responsible for 2 of the biggest choke jobs in Super Bowl history, he is still a phenomenal regular season head coach. He's still a genius offensive mind. And Garoppolo, even though he left a little bit to be desired in the playoffs, he still looked pretty solid in the pocket last season. I think he will look good once again. And that defense is one of the best units in the entire league. So for me, I think the 49ers probably go 12-4, somewhere along those lines. So I'm going to take the over.
Yeah, I think Garoppolo is still kind of learning how to be an NFL quarterback. He's only got really 1 full season under his belt. So I do think he's still on a slight upward trajectory. Dave, are you on the over bus with me and Scott?
Yeah, I am. Like I said earlier, the team that went to the Super Bowl last year, they have 2 first-round picks. The majority of their core players are still around. Yes, they lost Sanders, but they picked up Travis Benjamin, who I'm a Chargers fan, so he's got some talent. He's a deep threat. And he's got plenty of speed.
He's a good returner also for special
Yeah,
teams.
he's also a good
true.
returner. So, I'm thinking, plus their 2 first-round picks, I think they're going to also pick up a receiver within the 13th pick. And the schedule, it doesn't look too daunting. Yeah, some of the road games could be tough, but I still see them going 11-5 at least.
Yeah, on the road you've got the Cowboys, Pats, Saints, Giants, and Jets. Obviously, the Giants and Jets should be 2 walkovers. But I think they get at least one of those 3 road games against the Cowboys, Pats, and the Saints. That puts them at 3-2 on the road. I think they go 4-1 at home. I don't see maybe between the Bills and the Packers. I think one of those teams might sneak through for a win. So we'll give them we'll give them 1 loss at home. But yeah, that puts them 7-3 in the non-con, and I think that puts them in excellent position to go over the 10.5. Plus, you're getting pretty good value there, only paying -115. Scott, how does DraftKings have this one?
It has -110, so it's not that big of a drop off, but every little bit helps, I guess.
Sure, absolutely. So you're still getting really good value, taking the over 10.5 on that.
Actually, just one more thing about the 49ers. Sure. I know that David kept talking about how they had 2 first-round picks. It is worth mentioning that they do not have a pick in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round, so they probably will end up trading that 31st pick for a 2nd and a 3rd. John Lynch has shown in the past, especially with the Trubisky trade, that he has been willing to trade down for value. And with no picks for 3 straight rounds, I have to assume that the 49ers trade up for the 13th so they could trade the 31st later on. So that's just something that's worth keeping in mind.
Good call. Good call. Yeah, they may not take those 2 first-round picks. They may be happy to take a receiver there, CD Lamb or Jerry Jeudy, although I'm not sure either one of those guys are going to be left by the 13th pick. We'll see. I think either one of those cats would be a tremendous addition to the San Francisco 49ers. All right, so let's move on. Kind of had to flip a coin here. Which team goes next? We're going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. Their number is 9. Pretty well juiced there to the over at -130. Seahawks went 11-5 last year, and they basically reshaped their offensive line, brought in 4 new offensive linemen in free agency. They also picked up Greg Olsen to play tight end opposite Will Dissly, who I think is going to be I think he's probably going to be the next big thing as far as tight ends go.
If he stays healthy.
Great season until he got hurt once again. They brought in quarterback Quentin Dunbar to play opposite of Shaquille Griffin, who became, I would say, a bona fide top 10 cornerback last year. Once again, they play the schedule there against the East, and they've added the 2nd place team at home is the Vikings. 2nd place team on the road is the Falcons. So yeah, I've got some thoughts here about Seattle, but David, I'm anxious to hear yours. What are you thinking here about the Seahawks? Are they going to be in a position to overtake the Niners in the division or sneak in there for a wild card once again?
They have a chance at a wild card. I don't think they're going to take the division. In fact, I'm looking at the under 9.5 for them in this one. The offensive and defensive lines are 2 key pieces, and if you struggle in both, I mean, they were 2nd to last in the league last year in sacks at 28, and worse, or they allowed Wilson to be sacked 48 times. So, I know they reshaped their offensive line, but still, that's still a question mark, and definitely the defensive line is a question mark. And you gotta win in the trenches to be successful. They're still going to win about at least 8 games, maybe 9. I just don't see them winning 9.5.
Yeah, if you can't protect the passer and you can't rush the passer on the other side of the ball, there is a very small chance that you're going to have tremendous success in the NFL in this day and age. Scott, do you agree with Dave on that one? How are you feeling about the Seahawks?
Well, DraftKings has the Seahawks at over 9 at -110, so you get half a game there. So if you were going to look for the under, take the 9.5. If you want the over, take the 9. I know that Scott and I went through it last season. I said I wasn't that big on Seattle because of the same reasons, and now they lost Clowney, who probably won't be back, even though he's still unsigned. I've questioned the makeup of Seattle's roster for years. And yet Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll keep finding ways to win double-digit wins. It makes no sense on paper, but they find ways to win games. They have one of the best home fields typically almost every year. Last year was a bit of an anomaly. But for me, I'm tired of betting the under with Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. Somehow they find ways to win games miraculously in the fourth quarter. And on paper, everything says to take the under, but I'm not going to touch it personally. I have to take the over. I think they'll win 10 games.
Well, and here's how I'm looking at it. Their home schedule, they've got the Cowboys, Giants, and the Pats and Jets, and then they've got the Vikings. I think they go 4-1 there. I don't think they lose to the Pats and the Vikings. I think they beat one of those teams at home. On the road, they go Falcons, Bills, Dolphins, Eagles, and Skins. I think they beat the Dolphins and Skins, and the Falcons. I think they go 3-2 in that stretch. That puts them at 7-3. That means they just need to go 2-4 to get to 9 in the division. And I think between playing the Rams twice and the Arizona Cardinals twice, I think they can easily pick up those 2 wins to get us to 9. Now, whether we're going to go over 9 or not, that is the question. But Scott, I'm kind of with you. Sometimes the things that you see on paper just doesn't match reality. I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks over in a slight lean here, over 9 at minus 130 on Bet Online. All right, moving on to the Rams. Rams also have the same number as 9 on Bet Online. They are juiced to the over at minus 135. Rams, as we talked about earlier, just a little bit of a disappointing season. Finishing 9-7, had some very perplexing losses on the season. Perplexing, the same the way that we have trouble saying that word. Very perplexing. They lost a lot of people, especially on the defensive side of the ball this year. They lost linebacker Corey Littleton. They lost Dante Fowler and his 11.5 sacks. They lost Roby Coleman. They lost Clay Matthews. On the offensive side of the ball, they gave up on Todd Gurley after signing him to a huge extension. The years of that contract didn't even kick in before they'd had enough of him. They did pick up Ashawn Robinson, kind of a run stopper from the Lions, and edge rusher Leonard Floyd from the Bears, who has seen his sack total decline every year he's been in the NFL, had just 3 sacks for the Bears last season. Their home schedule, Cowboys, Giants, Jets, and Pats, and they pick up the Bears as the third-place team there at home. On the road, they go Bills, Dolphins, Eagles, and Skins, and the third-place team from the NFC South in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Guys, first of all, do you see the Rams overtaking Seattle for second place? And secondly, do you see the Rams doing much with that total of 9? David, start us off.
Well, this is a tough one, I think, because they lost a lot, but I still think they have a lot of good players on defense. Especially with the addition of Leonard Floyd. They also have Aaron Donald, who is 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. They don't have a first round pick, and their first pick in the draft comes in the 20th pick of the second round, and then they have a 20th pick in the third round. Todd Gurley, losing him is going to be tough. I have to go with under 8.5 in this one also. I just, I think they've lost a lot. They still have a lot, but with their offense, their offense is going to be good. But I think the defense is going to struggle some. And, the loss of Todd Gurley is going to hurt as well. So I think that they're going to hit 8 wins, finish third in the division.
Very good. Scott, is Jared Goff a legitimate NFL quarterback, or has the league figured him out?
I think that he is an average NFL quarterback. I think he looks a lot worse than he actually is because of that massive contract that the Rams overpaid for him. He still led them to a Super Bowl, so I can understand why they did it. But in hindsight, first of all, I was never a big Goff guy. I've said it publicly, and it turns out that I don't want to say I got lucky, but it looked bleak for me for a little while as he led them to a Super Bowl. And then Belichick came up with a game plan and pretty much exposed Goff for what he is. For me, though, you said the number was at 9. DraftKings actually has over under 8 at minus 110. So if you actually wanted the over there, you could get an extra game of value. You said the number was 9 there. What's the juice on the under?
It's juiced to the over, but at minus 135. It's juiced higher than the Seahawks are on Bet Online.
No, but what is the under for the 9?
I didn't put. I want to say it was plus 115.
Okay. In general, I'd have to lean to the under. Looking through the depth chart, first of all, I kind of disagree with David a bit with the Gurley absence. We talked about this the other day. I think Gurley's done. I think Malcolm Brown and Henderson Jr. is a pretty interesting running back prospect. He has some game-breaking speed. I think they'll do a pretty good job replacing Gurley, who had limited carries because of the issues he's had with his knees. The main concerns I have here, first of all, is the offensive line any good? No, it really didn't look that good last year. I didn't really see many changes they made during the offseason. I don't even know if Brandon Cooks is going to be there. He's been wanting to get traded. He's getting paid a lot of money. Seems like the Rams kind of sabotaged themselves with all these ridiculous contracts they gave up over the course of the last couple of seasons. Defensively, they lost a lot of pieces. Of course, Aaron Donald is still an insane player, and Jalen Ramsey's also really good. But at the end of the day, they also lost Zerline, so I got to question how good their kicking will be without him as a staple in that, a special teams core. But for me, I'm going to lean to the under because I think that total's too high, and I think this division is too tough. If you look at the actual games in their division, I'm not sure how many of them they're going to win. 49ers are a better team than they are. The Seahawks are kind of a toss-up for me, but I think the Seahawks are a little bit better, and I'll give Wilson the benefit of the doubt against Goff. For me, the Rams did go 9-7 last year with a lot of problems, and now they lost a ton of talent. I think they're going to go 8-8, somewhere along those lines. So for that reason, I got to take the under 9.
That sounds about right. I've got them projected out at 3-2 at home and on the road, which means they have to go 3-3 in the division to get to 9. I'm not sure they got 3 wins there. I think they probably split with the Cardinals, and that means they're going to have to pick up 2 wins against the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. I'm not sure that happens, guys. I'm probably going to go with you here. I like that 9. I like getting value at plus money on the 9 on the underside. I do like that. And like Scott said, we say it every show. It does sound very repetitive, but we cannot stress it enough. Shop your lines. Give yourself as many options as possible. Because if you like the over a full game, especially in the 8 or 9 range, that is worth a ton for a team like this that is borderline mediocre. So if you like the over, definitely check out DraftKings and their number of 8. And if you like the under, there is 9 money out there at plus value. So check out that as well. I am going to go with the crowd here and have the Rams in 3rd place. Maybe 3rd place, maybe 4th place.
You like the under as well. You like the under 9.
I do like the under 9. Yes, that's a long way to go to get back home to the under 9 on that one. All right, so let's finish up with what I think is probably one of the more intriguing teams, not just in the NFC West, but in the NFL as well, as the Cardinals and Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray. They get ready for their sophomore season. They went 5-11-1 last year. 7.5 is their win total, slightly juiced to the over at -120. And this is a team probably made the biggest splash in free agency as far as a single deal goes, as they traded for DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver extraordinaire from the Houston Texans. They basically swapped 4th-round picks. They gave up their next 4th round next year, 4th rounder this year, and they also threw in a 2nd rounder and David Johnson to pick up DeAndre Hopkins and his 104 receptions. Scott, so the Cardinals need to get arrested for stealing here. What is wrong with Houston? Just what is wrong with Callahan?
Well, I think it's kind of funny that Bill O'Brien came out, I believe it was yesterday.
I'll say Callahan. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, O'Brien.
He publicly defended the move of trading Hopkins roughly 2 weeks after doing it. And I find that a very interesting PR move. First of all, nobody was wondering about trading Hopkins because, if you had a Godfather offer or something you can't refuse, I feel like anybody's tradable. But nobody was wondering why they traded Hopkins. Everyone was wondering, how did the Vikings get a 1st-round pick for Diggs and you couldn't get a 1st or what did they get? They got a 3rd-round pick? They got
a 2nd and they swapped 4th-round picks.
Basically. Yeah, that's a joke. I don't know how the Vikings can get a 1st for Diggs and you can't get a 1st for arguably the best receiver in the entire game. Plus, you also inherited David Johnson's terrible contract. A lot of problems there. If I wanted to rant about the Texans, I could probably do that for at least 20 minutes. Agreed. But I'm not going to bother. I feel like Texans fans feel the same. I'm going to show them a little bit of mercy there. But for the Cardinals, you said the number was 7.5 there?
7.5 is what I've got. What do you have it at?
I have 7 on DraftKings at -110.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, now for me, I'm going to go with the under 7.5 there. I know that we did a brief NFL predictions video, I believe it was last week or so.
Right.
I said that Arizona would end up being the most talented 6-10 team in the entire league. I stand by that. I just think the division's too tough. But with that tough of a division, someone's got to lose games. And Arizona, even though they got a very solid receiver, that's an understatement. He's one of the best receivers in the league. Doesn't change the fact I still don't like the offensive line. And defensively, besides Chandler Jones, Patrick Peterson, and Budda Baker, I really think everybody else is replaceable. So with a below-average defense and a below-average offensive line, I'm just not sold on this team winning 8 games, especially in a division like the NFC West. So for me, I'm going to take the under 7.5. I think they'll end up going 6-10.
So, Dave, they did lose a little bit of depth there at the wide receiver. They lost Bird. They lost Pharaoh Cooper. They do have, of course, Fitzgerald. They brought him back on a 1-year deal, paired opposite of DeAndre Hopkins. That looks good with Kyler Murray. Brought in a little bit of help on the defense. They brought in outside linebacker Devondre Campbell from the Falcons. He's a good weak side backer. He's not a sack guy. He's a guy that just kind of takes up space, plays in space very well. Also brought a local boy back to town is Devin Kennard. He had 7 sacks each of his last 2 years. They brought him in to rush off the edge, playing with the Lions. And they're going to he's been playing a 4-3 up there in the Lions, and they're switching him to an edge rusher position into 3-4. Should be a little more natural to him. And so, what is the defense? Did they do enough, Dave? Do you like the over, the under 7.5 or 7, as the case may be on DraftKings?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the 7. I'm gonna take the over. I like the over in this one. I already said, in the beginning that I thought every team would win at least 7 games. Well, I think that they can win at least 8. The defense has some issues, of course. It was one of the worst in the league last year. The offensive line, by getting Hopkins, now they can look for with the 8th pick, they can look for some offensive line help. The offense should be great, I think. Kenyon Drake, he 643 yards in just 8 games last year for the Cardinals. Murray had 544 yards rushing. He was sacked 52 times, which is why they need, offensive line help. But, and looking at the schedule, they play the Bills, the Lions, and the Dolphins. They also have the Giants, Jets, and Panthers on the road. That's 6 wins, I feel, right there. So they only got to go 2-4 in the division, or 2-4 the rest of the way with the rest of their schedule. Or they only have to pick up 2 more wins.
They only need 2 more wins. We got it.
So
and I broke that down the same way. I think they go 3-2 at home. I think they go 3-2 on the road. They just need 2 more wins within the division to get to 8, and I think they pick up at least 1 against the Rams, and I think they can steal another one between 4 games in the Seahawks and the 49ers. I think they get to 8, guys. I'm gonna fade the group here. I think this team goes over. I think it's possible that they actually overtake the Rams for 3rd place. I think this is an up-and-coming team. I like Kingsbury. I got to watch him a lot in the Big 12. I like what he does. I like Kyler Murray. I think you got a team on the come here. I like the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, I just have one quick question there. Is it a bit concerning, though, that their head coach hasn't had a winning season, including college, since 2015?
No.
You don't think that matters?
It's not. It's all about the talent that he's had around him. They've never
Patrick Mahomes.
Well, they've never had a defense. They've never had a defense at Tech.
I mean, do they have one now?
Well,
I'm still not sold.
Build one.
Yeah, I mean, something about I understand that on paper they look like they should win 8 games, and based on the schedule they could. But Kyler Murray, as you mentioned before, got sacked a ton last year. Plus, they had one of the worst red zone offenses in the league. I don't really know what happened there, but whenever they got inside the 10-yard line, they couldn't score. And it was really frustrating seeing Zane Gonzalez come out 20, 30-plus times inside the 10-yard line. Hopefully Hopkins can fix that, but that is definitely something that is worth keeping in mind. I can understand why you're taking the over, especially based on the schedule, but I think someone's got to lose games in this division. I feel more confident in McVay winning games over Kingsbury, so that's why I like the under.
Fair enough. And, I think I think a lot of that red zone problem had to do early in the season with not having a running back they could count on, as David Johnson was hurt.
Kenyon Drake was really good, though.
Yeah, I like Kenyon Drake. He seemed like a new man after coming over from Miami. Just about pulled off the big upset there on Monday night against the Niners. And they did go up and win in Seattle. So this is a team, when they put it all together, they can get some wins. Yeah, I like them here. So let's do a quick review in case people were just perished the thought, just fast forwarding to the end to catch this part. We both like the 49ers. We thought they were a little undervalued at 10.5. We all three like them to go over that number. As far as Seattle goes, we had a kind of a split decision there. The number was at 9. Scott and I both like them to go over, while Dave sees a little regression. Is that right, Dave? Am I getting that correct?
Right, yes.
Okay, all right. And the Rams, I think we were all on board with the Rams are on the downside, and they will go 8-8 at best. And we had a little bit of a split decision on the Arizona Cardinals, while you gentlemen believe they will not get to 8 wins. I think this is the team.
No, actually, I took the over in that one also.
Oh, you got the over? All right.
Yes. Both of you like the over 7. I like
That's
the under
right, because you thought they'd go 6-4 in their non-con and get those 2 wins. You're with me on that one. So we both like them to get to at least 8, while Scott sees that Arizona team with too many holes. He doesn't have confidence in Cliff Kingsbury. Here's another fun stat about Cliff Kingsbury and Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes never beat a winning team in his college career, and his NFL career has worked out pretty well so far. So those numbers don't always transfer to the NFL. Just saying.
I can see that. You're flexing a little bit because your team won the Super Bowl. I see you over there. No, it was just a comment there, just based on just out of all 4 head coaches, can you agree that Kingsbury is probably the worst in the division?
No.
You think McVay is the worst in the division?
I do.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, although I don't know. To me, it's kind of an alligator death roll there between him and Jared Goff to see which one of those is more overrated.
I kind of blame the front office for signing those ridiculous contracts as opposed to McVay. I think McVay is a genius, but that's just my opinion.
Hard to believe people spending money like crazy on and not getting any value in Hollywood, huh?
No, they spent a bunch of money on a running back. Who could have possibly thought that would go badly? I don't know.
yeah, with bad needs. So, Well, guys, it's been a hoot as always as we finish up the NFC here. We appreciate everybody being with us. Dave, thanks for joining us today.
But which division you want to do tomorrow?
Always a pleasure.
Stay safe up there in Maine. Scotty, what'd you say about it? What was your question?
I said, which division do you want to do tomorrow?
We're going to do them in the same order. We're going to go. We're going to go with the AFC South tomorrow. We're going to start in the South, or should be in the North. We're going to go North, South, East, West, and finish up. And that'll take up the rest of the week, and maybe even give Michael, our producer, the weekend off. We'll see how that all goes, but we should be able to finish up the AFC this week. We'll be doing the AFC North tomorrow. Take a look at the Steelers, Big Ben, and whether Baltimore is going to be the real deal out there on the East Coast. So we'll tune in tomorrow. We'll be taking a look at that, and going to have a very special guest, Joe Duffy. He's going to join us, one of my all-time favorite handicappers. He's going to be stopping by to take a look at the AFC North with us as well. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Gentlemen, thanks very much for being with us. And thank all of you people for tuning in and watching us here as we optimistically take a look at the NFL season and the win totals. We have finished up. We're halfway home. We are finished up the NFC, and we'll finish up the AFC this week. To everybody out there, once again, thanks very much. And stay safe, stay well, stay home, everybody. I'm Scott Steehn for Scott Reichel and David Hess. Thanks for joining us here at winnersandwiners.com, and we will see you next time. Take care.